All right, let's talk about modern sales. And I mean, forget everything you think you know about the slick salesperson with a charming smile and a firm handshake. That's the old way. Today, it's a science. We're going to break down the entire process from the first hello to the final yes into a clear, step-by-step playbook. Let's get into it. So, what does it actually take to sell something today in the 21st century? Because the game has totally changed. It's way less about just raw charisma and gut feelings, and so much more about strategy, about data, and, really understanding what makes people tick. And we're about to unpack exactly what that means. So here's our roadmap for this journey. First up, we're diving into the new sales playbook, this massive shift from art to science. Then we're going to go on the hunt for the right customers. After that, it's all about crafting that perfect pitch. And then, of course, navigating those final tricky steps to get the yes. And finally, we'll open up the scoreboard and see how the pros keep winning again and again. Okay, let's kick things off with Section 1, the new sales playbook. This is really the foundation for everything else, because it's about the biggest shift in sales maybe ever. The move from a kind of unstructured art form to a predictable, repeatable science. And this slide, well, it gets right to the heart of it. Back in the day, sales was all about the lone wolf, that one superstar who ran on pure intuition. Today, success comes from data-driven systems. It's about building a well-oiled machine, a process that works for your whole team, not just relying on one person's magnetic personality. So how do you build that machine? Well, it all comes down to methodology. Just think of it like a recipe for success. Instead of just winging it, the best sales teams follow a structured plan, like spin selling or the challenger sale. And these aren't just random tactics. They're proven systems that mix persuasion with hard data to create a process you can actually teach, measure, and improve over time. Okay, so we've got our playbook. Now what? Well, now it's time to go on the hunt. This section is all about finding and, just as importantly, qualifying potential customers, or what we call leads. And that hunt, it starts with prospecting. Now, the key word here is systematic. This is not just grabbing a phone book and making cold calls. No way. Modern prospecting uses predictive modeling and some pretty deep analysis to pinpoint the right potential customers, which makes the whole process so much smarter and more efficient from the get-go. Now, once you find those prospects, they become leads. But here's the thing, and this is super important. Not all leads are created equal. This is where tech becomes a huge advantage. Teams use predictive analytics, they use scoring algorithms, all to figure out who's most likely to buy, so they can focus all their energy where it's going to count the most. So, how do you actually separate the hot leads from the not-so-hot ones? Well, one of the most classic, time-tested tools is something called BANT. It's a simple, but honestly a really powerful checklist to figure out if a lead is a real opportunity or, just a waste of time. It basically stops you from chasing deals that were never going to happen anyway. And here's how it breaks down. It's just 4 simple questions. First, B, for budget. Can they actually afford what you're selling? Second, A, for authority. Am I talking to the person who can actually make the decision? Third, N, for need. Is their problem a big enough deal that they have to solve it? And finally, T, for timing. Do they need that solution now? If you get a yes on all 4 of those, well, you've got a golden opportunity on your hands. All right, so you found a qualified lead, a real one. Now for the main event, making that perfect pitch. This is where the real conversation truly begins. And every single great pitch starts with a crystal clear value proposition. This is your core promise. It's your one-sentence answer to the biggest question on your customer's mind. What's in it for me? It's not a boring list of features. It's a compelling story about the specific, amazing benefit you're going to deliver. Then you move on to the demonstration. This is where the magic happens. It's the show, don't tell part of the conversation. You're taking all those promises from your value proposition and making them real, making them tangible. A great demo lets the customer actually feel what it's like to have their problem disappear. It just brings it all to life. Of course, customers are going to have questions, maybe some doubts. That's where handling objections comes in. And the modern way isn't about arguing. It's a process. First, you just listen and show you understand. Then, you help reframe their problem. You back it up with hard data. And finally, you neutralize the resistance, building even more trust along the way. Okay, so you've navigated their concerns, you've built a solid foundation of trust. Now we're entering the final phase for this deal,
the close. This is all about getting from a great conversation to a signed contract. And this part often involves some negotiation. But listen, a lot of people think this is a big, scary battle. It's not. It's more like a puzzle you solve together to find that win-win solution. The pros use frameworks like BANT, which is just a fancy way of saying your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. It just means you know your walkaway point, so you never ever get backed into a bad deal.
But what happens when things just stop? The customer goes quiet, you get radio silence, and the deal just stalls out. It's frustrating, right? Well, there's actually a psychological tactic you can use for this exact situation. It's called the Jolt effect. Think of it like a strategic pattern interrupt. You introduce something totally unexpected, a surprising question, a new piece of info, to just shake things up. It leverages our brain's natural attraction to novelty, grabs their attention again, and gets that conversation moving forward. It's a pretty cool trick.
And all of this, it's leading to the final moment, closing. This is where you get that final commitment. And again, forget the old high-pressure tactics. Modern closing is all about psychology. It's about framing the decision in a way that makes the customer feel safe, reduces their perceived risk, and just makes it really, really easy for them to say yes. And right at that moment of the close, it's the perfect opportunity to think about upselling. This is just a smart strategy to increase the deal's value by offering a premium version or something complimentary. It's one of the most profitable moves you can make because you're boosting revenue without having to go out and find a whole new customer. So we've just walked through a single deal from start to finish. But how do the best organizations win consistently all the time? Well, that's when we have to zoom out and look at the scoreboard. This is the science of winning. The best way to picture this whole system is as a giant funnel. You pour all your potential customers in at the wide top. As they move down, some get disqualified, some drop out, until finally only your paying customers come out the narrow bottom. By analyzing this flow, companies can see exactly where their process is breaking down, where the leaks are, and fix them. One of the most critical numbers for that funnel is the win rate. It's really simple. It's the percentage of your real opportunities that actually turn into deals. So a 21% win rate, for example, means that for every 100 qualified leads you get, you close 21 of them. Whether that number is good or bad depends on the industry, but what's key is that it's a hard number that tells you how healthy your entire sales machine really is. And that brings us to our final question to think about. If modern sales really is a system, a machine with inputs like leads and outputs like revenue, which part of that machine would you try to fix first? Would you focus on pouring more leads into the top of the funnel, or would you work on improving your win rate to close more of the leads you already have? It's the central puzzle that everyone trying to master the science of sales has to solve.